It's Christmas, so we know what it is. It's rum review time. Here we go. There's two this year, and the third is not a rum, but I'm going to include it anyway. The first is one that I've wanted to try for quite a long time. It's called Blackwell. It's by a guy called Chris Blackwell. Pretty famous guy. I think he was born and raised in Jamaica. I think his parents might be British though. And he best well known for starting the record label Island Records in the 1950s, which really launched reggae into the world and especially into the UK. He actually bought Ian Fleming's house on Jamaica, which Ian Fleming called Golden Eye, and he bought that house and the estate, and he started making rum. Chris Blackwell, as well as being a music person, and he was involved in a couple of James Bonds, I think Dr. No, his family are from a huge alcohol background. I think they might be involved with some big names. I can't remember. Very, very Jamaican style rum though. I mean, it's really incredible. One of the first ones I did was the Smith and Cross, which is, and again, it's from Jamaica, it's London, it's English style. This is exactly the same, not as extreme, but I mean, a massive amount of banana. This to me is Jamaican rum. This is everything that you expect from this British style of rum that comes from Jamaica and some other Caribbean places. Banana, fruit, it's got a lovely colour to it. It's quite dark actually. It's pretty dark. I mean, it doesn't have the legs to carry it very far. So neat. It's nice. It's good, but you don't sit there and it doesn't stay very long. But in a cocktail, I'd imagine this would go down a fucking treat. Just because of all of that. It's got that rum flavour, all that banana and fruit. It would really add to a cocktail that you're going to add it to, like a Stark and Stormy, or even just with Coke and some lime. It's really fantastic. It was also about somewhere between 20 and 25 pounds. I think I paid maybe 24 euros or something for it. It's absolutely fantastic. It's cheap, it's affordable, it's great, and it's everything that I love about Jamaican rum. And for me, this is what rum tastes like. And I think that's a really nice way to go on to the second one, which is Bookman. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's from Haiti. It's a really nice label. It's a really interesting bottle. Bookman was a slave. Haiti was owned by the French. And Haiti, and they, like the British and the Spanish, weren't particularly nice people. And Bookman led the slave revolt in the 1797, I think. And he ended up dying, but he caused the revolution and the revolt which led to Haitian independence. So he's a very important man in their history. And I didn't know this. I had to look this up when I was researching these rums. So this rum is a fairly modern rum. But the guy who runs it, he sort of wants to embody the spirit of Bookman and the revolt and belief in the Haitian people. So he created this rum that's in the French style, still rum agricole, and he donates a share of the profits to the local communities, the ones that work in the sugar cane. So this is 100% sugar cane. It's infused, and it's infused by botanicals. And you're thinking botanicals? I know that, rum, and this is strange. It is nothing. If I was in a blind test and I was just on smell alone, I mean, not a chance I'd ever say this is rum. And I mean, it tastes a bit like rum when you taste it, but I don't know if on a blind test I would know this was rum. It's I actually can't describe it because it is a bit like gin. The botanicals do lead you down this gin path, and neat. This is quite an extreme rum because it's not. The Blackwall that's to me that's rum. This is okay. It's French style, but I've had French style and it's still a bit rum-esque. But this is. There's so much to unpack. There's so much going on. Probably needs a little bit of ice just to add some water just to lift it a little bit and open the flavours, but I don't know what that would be like in a cocktail. I really, it might be too weird. This one's going to last me a long time because I enjoy it, but I enjoy it because it's interesting, not necessarily because I love drinking it. Where this Blackwell one, I mean, that I could drink that too quickly because I really enjoy it, but I'm really interested by this. It was expensive. It was about €55, which is fairly expensive for rum. I've bought another French agricole rum, which is around about the same price from, I think it's from Martinique. I think I got that last year. That, really enjoyable. But also fairly, it was what it was, Where this one, I think it would take quite a few glasses for me to really unpack all the different flavours going on there. But I really love the story, and I really love the background of giving back to the community and stuff. The last one is not a rum, but it's a mezcal. I'm going to absolutely butcher this. Del Maguey Vida. This brand has quite a few different types. The reason why I wanted to try mezcal because we've all had Jose Convales or what the brand name is. We've all had it, salt, lime, we've all had that. And I've had a couple of tequilas before that were good, that were sipping, but I didn't remember the names, and I had a few beers at the time. So I thought, fuck it, let's go into mezcal. I looked up a recommendation, and this one came out good because it's not expensive, it's good, and it also mixes well into cocktails, and I thought that would be really important. Mezcal is a category of drinks in the same way that whiskey is, but mezcal is also a type of mezcal, rather confusingly. Tequila is a mezcal that I believe comes from a specific area. So you have lots of sparkling wines, but only champagne comes from Champagne. I think only tequila comes from this region. That could be called tequila, I'm not quite sure. But I think mezcal can come from anywhere. Comes from the agave plant. What were the locals? What were the natives called? Were they Aztecs or Mayans? One of the two. Maybe they're the same thing. But they discovered it quite by accident, actually. How they swear, and it happened apparently through a thunderbolt going through the plant. Seems a bit ridiculous, but the story's nice. And it's done with the agave plant instead of a very traditional method. And what I didn't realise, so this is white, sometimes called silver, to make it sound a little bit better than white. But this is, they've got different aging, and this one, I think it's like 0 to 2 for this type of one. And what's interesting about this is just how smoky it is. And that's done because of the way they process it. But it's incredibly smoky, and it takes about 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds, and then you get the smokiness. Like immediately it's like, okay, not much flavour, and then bang, this smokiness. In whiskey we'd describe this as peatiness. This is kind of like a Laphroaig. It's not quite as extreme as a Laphroaig, but it's... Yeah. It's not... I'm not going, yeah, I can drink the bottle of that. Because it's a bit too smoky for me. But I think a little bit of that in some cocktails that call for it could be really interesting because it will add a smokiness to it without adding too much other flavours. When it comes to tequila, when you come to sipping, you want the sort of browner ones. So the Reposado, and there's the I can't remember the names. I should have looked this up. Awejo or something like that. It's a Spanish word. And so you get different agings, and they've all got sort of particular names, and that's sort of the 0 to 2, 2 to 4, that sort of thing, years. So I went for sort of a basic one, and I think this is a very good example of mezcal, and it's not, if you've obviously had a shitty tequila shot, this is very, very, very different. But it's smoky. If you don't like smoky whiskey, this is going to be very difficult for you. But there it is for another year. Until next year.